Inner Mongolia, officially Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region and Nei Mongol Autonomous Region, is an autonomous region of the People's Republic of China, located in the north of the country, containing most of China's border with Mongolia and a small section of the border with Russia. Its capital is Hohhot, and other major cities include Baotou, Chifeng, and Ordos.The Autonomous Region was established in 1947, incorporating the areas of the former Republic of China provinces of Suiyuan, Chahar, Rehe, Liaobei and Xing'an, along with the northern parts of Gansu and Ningxia. It is the third largest subdivision of China, spanning approximately 1,200,000 square kilometers at 12% of China's total land area. It recorded a population of 24,706,321 in the 2010 census, accounting for 1.84% of mainland China's total population. Inner Mongolia is the country's 23rd most populous province-level division. The majority of the population in the region is Han Chinese, with a sizable titular Mongol minority. The official languages are Mandarin and Mongolian, the latter of which is written in the traditional Mongolian script, as opposed to the Mongolian Cyrillic alphabet which is used in the state of Mongolia. Name. In Chinese, the region is known as Inner Mongolia, where the terms of inner, outer are derived from Manchu Dorgi, Tulagi. Inner Mongolia is distinct from Outer Mongolia, which was a term used by the Republic of China and previous governments to refer to what is now the independent state of Mongolia plus the Republic of Tuva in Russia. In Mongolian, the region was called Dotu-Gadu Mongol during Qing rule and was renamed into Ober Mongol in 1947. Ober meaning the southern side of a mountain, while the Chinese term Nei Meng'u was retained. In recent years, some Mongols began to call Inner Mongolia Nan Meng'u, and with it came the change of English translation from Inner Mongolia to Southern Mongolia. History. Much of what is known about the history of Greater Mongolia, including Inner Mongolia, is known through Chinese chronicles and historians. Before the rise of the Mongols in the 13th century, what is now central and western Inner Mongolia, especially the Hohhot region, alternated in control between Chinese agriculturalists in the south and Xiongnu, Liaobei, Khitan, Jurchen, Tujue, and nomadic Mongol of the north. The historical narrative of what is now eastern Inner Mongolia mostly consists of alternations between different Tungusic and Mongol tribes, rather than the struggle between nomads and Chinese agriculturalists. Early history. Slab grave cultural monuments are found in northern, central and eastern Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, northwestern China, southern, central eastern and southern Baikal territory. Mongolian scholars prove that this culture related to the Proto-Mongols. During the Zhou dynasty, central and western Inner Mongolia were inhabited by nomadic peoples such as the Lufan, Linhu, and Dai, while eastern Inner Mongolia was inhabited by the Donghu. During the Warring States period, King Wuling of the state of Zhou, based in what is now Hebei and Shanxi provinces, pursued an expansionist policy towards the region. After destroying the Dai state of Zhongshan in what is now Hebei province, he defeated the Linhu and Lufan and created the commandery of Yunzhong near modern Hohhot. King Wuling of Zhou also built a long wall stretching through the Hohhot region. After Qin Shi Huang created the first unified Chinese empire in 221 BC, he sent the general Meng Tiyun to drive the Xiongnu from the region, and incorporated the old Zhou Wall into the Qin dynasty Great Wall of China. He also maintained two commanderies in the region, Suiyuan and Yunzhong, and moved 30,000 households there to solidify the region. After the Qin dynasty collapsed in 206 BC, these efforts were abandoned. During the Western Han dynasty, Emperor Wu sent the general Wei Qing to reconquer the Hetao region from the Xiongnu in 127 BC. After the conquest, Emperor Wu continued the policy of building settlements in Hetao to defend against the Xiongnu. In that same year he established the commanderies of Shuofang and Wu Yuan in Hetao. At the same time, what is now eastern Inner Mongolia was controlled by the Liaobei, who would later on eclipse the Xiongnu in power and influence. During the Eastern Han dynasty, Xiongnu who surrendered to the Han dynasty began to be settled in Hetao, and intermingled with the Han immigrants in the area. Later on during the Western Jin dynasty, it was the Xiongnu noble from Hetao, Lu Yuan, who established the Han Shao kingdom in the region, thereby beginning the 16 Kingdoms period that saw the disintegration of northern China under a variety of Han and non-Han regimes. The Sui dynasty and Tang dynasty re-established a unified Chinese empire, and like the predecessors they conquered and settled people into Hetao, though once again these efforts were aborted when the Tang Empire began to collapse. Hetao was then taken over by the Qatar Empire, founded by the Khitans, a nomadic people originally from what is now the southern part of Manchuria and eastern Inner Mongolia. They were followed by the western Xia of the Tanguts, who took control of what is now the western part of Inner Mongolia. The Khitans were later replaced by the Jurchens, precursors to the modern Manchus, who established the Jin dynasty over Manchuria and northern China. Mongol and Ming periods. After Genghis Khan unified the Mongol tribes in 1206 and founded the Mongol Empire, the Tangut Western Xia Empire was ultimately conquered in 1227, and the Jurchen Jin dynasty fell in 1234. In 1271, Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, established the Yuan dynasty. Kublai Khan's summer capital Shangdu was located near present-day Dolina. During that time Ongud and Gungyarad peoples dominated the area of what is now Inner Mongolia. After the Yuan dynasty was overthrown by the Han-led Ming dynasty in 1368, the Ming captured parts of Inner Mongolia including Shangdu and Yingchang. The Ming rebuilt the Great Wall of China at its present location, which roughly follows the southern border of the modern Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. The Ming established the three guards composed of the Mongols there. Soon after the Tumu incident in 1449, when the Oirat ruler Azan Taishi captured the Chinese emperor, Mongols flooded south from Outer Mongolia to Inner Mongolia. Thus from then on until 1635, Inner Mongolia was the political and cultural center of the Mongols during the Northern Yuan dynasty. King period. The eastern Mongol tribes near and in Manchuria, particularly the Korchan and southern Kharkha in today's Inner Mongolia, intermarried, formed alliances with, and fought against the Jurchen tribes until Nur-Hachi, the founder of the new Jin dynasty, consolidated his control over all groups in the area in 1593. The Manchus gained far-reaching control of the Inner Mongolian tribes in 1635, when Ligdan Khan's son surrendered the Chakha Mongol tribes to the Manchus. The Manchus subsequently invaded Ming China in 1644, bringing it under the control of the newly established Qing dynasty. Under the Qing dynasty, Greater Mongolia was administered in a different way for each region. Outer Mongolia, this region corresponds to the modern state of Mongolia, plus the Russian-administered region of Tanu-Uriankai, and a part of northern Xinjiang. It included the 4 leagues of the Kharkha Mongols north of the Gobi, as well as the Tanu-Uriankai and Kaub regions in northwestern Mongolia, which were overseen by the general of Uliastai from the city of Uliastai. Inner Mongolia. This region corresponded to most of modern Inner Mongolia and some neighboring areas in Liaoning and Jilin provinces. The banners and tribes in this region came under 6 leagues: Jerim, Juuda, Josuta, Zilingal, Ulinkab, and Yekarju. Taoshi Mongolia, Ilash and Uludinajin Torgud banners were separate from the Amags of Outer Mongolia and the Chuaflans of Inner Mongolia. This territory is equivalent to modern-day Alks League, the westernmost part of what is now Inner Mongolia. The Chahar banners were controlled by the military commander of Chahar. Their extent corresponded to southern Ulinkab banner in modern Inner Mongolia, plus the region around Zhangjiakou in Hebei province. At the same time, the jurisdiction of some border departments of Shili and Shanxi provinces also belonged to this region. The Guatumed banner was controlled by the military commander of Suiyuan. This corresponds to the vicinities of the modern city of Hohhot. At the same time, the jurisdiction of some border departments of modern Shanxi province also belonged to this region. The Hulunbuir region in what is now northeastern Inner Mongolia was part of the jurisdiction of the general of Heilongjiang, one of the 3 generals of Manchuria. The Inner Mongolian Chahar leader Aligdan Khan, a descendant of Genghis Khan, opposed and fought against the king until he died of smallpox in 1634. Thereafter, the Inner Mongols under his son Ajay Khan surrendered to the king and was given the title of prince, and Inner Mongolian nobility became closely tied to the king royal family and intermarried with them extensively. Ajay Khan died in 1661 and was succeeded by his brother Abunai. After Abunai showed disaffection with Manchu king rule, he was placed under house arrest in 1669 in Shenyang, and the Kangxi emperor gave his title to his son Borni. Abunai then bid his time, and then he and his brother Lubzong revolted against the king in 1675 during the revolt of the 3 feudatories, with 3,000 Chahar Mongol followers joining in on the revolt. The revolt was put down within 2 months. The king then crushed the rebels in a battle on April 20, 1675, killing Abunai and all his followers. The title was abolished. All Chahar Mongol royal males were executed even if they were born to Manchu king princesses, and all Chahar Mongol royal females were sold into slavery except the Manchu king princesses. The Chahar Mongols were then put under the direct control of the king emperor, unlike the other Inner Mongol leagues which maintained their autonomy. Despite officially prohibiting Han Chinese settlement on the Manchuan Mongol lands, by the 18th century the king decided to settle Han refugees from northern China who were suffering from famine, floods, and drought into Manchuria and Inner Mongolia, so that Han Chinese farmed 500,000 hectares in Manchuria and tens of thousands of hectares in Inner Mongolia by the 1780s. Ordinary Mongols were not allowed to travel outside their own leagues. Mongols were forbidden by the king from crossing the borders of the banners, even into other Mongol banners, and from crossing into Unidi, and were given serious punishments if they did, in order to keep the Mongols divided against each other to benefit the king. During the 18th century, growing numbers of Han Chinese settlers had illegally begun to move into the Inner Mongolia steppe. By 1791 there had been so many Han Chinese settlers in the Front Gorlos Banner that the Jasik had petitioned the Qing government to legalize the status of the peasants who had already settled there. During the 19th century, the Manchu were becoming increasingly Sinicized, and faced with the Russian threat, they began to encourage Han Chinese farmers to settle in both Mongolia and Manchuria. This policy was followed by subsequent governments. The railroads that were being built in these regions were especially useful to the Han Chinese settlers. Land was either sold by Mongol princes, or leased to Han Chinese farmers, or simply taken away from the nomads and given to Han Chinese farmers. The Jindanda incident, a rebellion by an ethnic Chinese secret society called Jindanda, occurred in Inner Mongolia in November 1891 and massacred 150,000 Mongols before being suppressed by government troops in late December. Republic of China period. Outer Mongolia gained independence from the Qing dynasty in 1911, when the Jetsun Baotou of the Kaka was declared the Bogd Khan of Mongolia. Although almost all banners of Inner Mongolia recognized the Bogd Khan as the supreme ruler of Mongols, the internal strife within the region prevented a full reunification. The Mongol rebellions in Inner Mongolia were counterbalanced by princes who hoped to see a restored Qing dynasty in Manchuria and Mongolia, as they considered the theocratic rule of the Bogd Khan would be against the modernizing objectives for Mongolia. Eventually, the newly formed Republic of China promised a new nation of 5 races and suppressed the Mongol rebellions in the area, forcing the Inner Mongolian princes to recognize the Republic of China. The Republic of China reorganized Inner Mongolia into provinces. Rehe province was created to include the Juuda and Josutu leagues, plus the Chengde area in what is now northern Hebei. Chahar province was created to include Silingal League as well as much of the former territory of the 8 banners. Suiyuan province was created to include Ulankab League, Yekarju League, and the Hetao region. Ulaanbaatar stayed within Heilongjiang in Manchuria, which had become a province. Most of Jirim League came under the new province of Fengshan in southern Manchuria. Taoshi Mongolia, i.e., Alashan and Ajin leagues, was incorporated into neighboring Gansu province. Later on, Ningxia province was split out of northern Gansu, and Taoshi Mongolia became part of Ningxia. Some Republic of China maps still show this structure. Mengjiang period. Mengjiang was an autonomous area of reorganized national government of China, which was the puppet regime of Japan. In 1931, Manchuria came under the control of the Japanese puppet state Manchukuo, taking the Mongol areas in the Manchurian provinces along. Rehe was also incorporated into Manchukuo in 1933, taking Juuda and Josutu leagues along with it. These areas were administered by Manchukuo until the end of World War II in 1945. In 1937, open war broke out between the Republic of China and the Empire of Japan. On December 8, 1937, Mongolian Prince Diem Chugdongrub declared the independence of the remaining parts of Inner Mongolia as Menkang and Menkukuo, and signed close agreements with Manchukuo and Japan. The capital was established at Zhangbei, with the puppet government's control extending as far west as the Hohhot region. In August 1945, Menkang was taken by Soviet and Outer Mongolian troops during Manchurian strategic offensive operation. Despite a considerable movement among Inner Mongolia's Mongols for unification with Outer Mongolia, Inner Mongolia remained part of China. Communist era. The communist movement gradually gained momentum as part of the Third Communist International in Inner Mongolia during the Japanese period. By the end of World War II, the Inner Mongolian faction of the Comintern had a functional militia, and actively opposed the attempts at independence by Dawang's Chingashid princes on the grounds of fighting feudalism. Following the end of World War II, the Chinese Communists gained control of Manchuria as well as the Inner Mongolian Communists with decisive Soviet support, and established the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in 1947. The Comintern Army was absorbed into the People's Liberation Army. Initially, the autonomous region included just the Hulunbuir region. Over the next decade, as the Communists established the People's Republic of China and consolidated control over mainland China, Inner Mongolia was expanded westwards to include 5 of the 6 original leagues, the northern part of the Chahar region, by then a league as well, the Hetao region, and the Lashan and Ajin banners. Eventually, near all areas with sizable Mongol populations were incorporated into the region, giving present-day Inner Mongolia its elongated shape. The leader of Inner Mongolia during that time, as both regional CPC secretary and head of regional government, was Ulanhu. During the Cultural Revolution, the administration of Ulanhu was purged, and a wave of repressions was initiated against the Mongol population of the autonomous region. In 1969, much of Inner Mongolia was distributed among surrounding provinces, with Hulunbuir divided between Heilongjiang and Jilin, Jirim going to Jilin, Juuda to Liaoning, and the Lashan and Ajin region divided among Gansu and Ningxia. This was reversed in 1979. Inner Mongolia has seen considerable development since Deng Xiaoping instituted Chinese economic reform in 1978. For about 10 years since 2000, Inner Mongolia's GDP growth has been the highest in the country, largely owing to the success of natural resource industries in the region. GDP growth has continually been over 10%, even 15%, and connections with the wolf economy to the north has helped development. However, growth has come at a cost, with huge amounts of pollution and degradation to the grasslands. Attempts to attract ethnic Chinese to migrate from other regions, as well as urbanize those rural nomads and peasants, has led to huge amounts of corruption and waste in public spending, such as Ordos.City. Acute uneven wealth distribution has further exacerbated ethnic tensions. Many indigenous Mongolians feeling they are increasingly marginalized in their own homeland, leading to riots in 2011 and 2013. Geography. Officially, Inner Mongolia is classified as one of the provincial-level divisions of North China, but its great stretch means that parts of it belong to northeast China and northwest China as well. It borders 8 provincial-level divisions in all 3 of the aforementioned regions, tying with Shaanxi for the greatest number of bordering provincial-level divisions. Most of its international border is with Mongolia, which in Chinese is sometimes called Outer Mongolia, while a small portion is with Russia. Inner Mongolia largely consists of the northern side of the North China Craton, a tilted and sedimented Precambrian block. In the extreme southwest is the edge of the Tibetan Plateau, where the autonomous region's highest peak, main peak in the Helan Mountains, reaches 3,556 meters, and is still being pushed up today in short bursts. Most of Inner Mongolia is a plateau averaging around 1,200 meters in altitude and covered by extensive loess and sand deposits. The northern part consists of the Mesozoic-era Xing'an Mountains, and is, owing to the cooler climate, more forested, chiefly with Manchurian elm, birch, Mongolian oak and a number of pine and spruce species. Where discontinuous permafrost is present north of Hela district, forests are almost exclusively coniferous. In the south, the natural vegetation is grassland in the east and very sparse in the arid west, and grazing is the dominant economic activity. Owing to the ancient weathered rocks lying under its deep sedimentary cover, Inner Mongolia is a major mining district, possessing large reserves of coal, iron ore and rare earth minerals, which have made it a major industrial region today. Climate. Due to its elongated shape, Inner Mongolia has a wide variety of regional climates. Throughout the region, the climate is based off a 4-season monsoon monsoon climate. The winters in Inner Mongolia are very long, cold, and dry with frequent blizzards. Though snowfall is so light that Inner Mongolia has no modern glaciers even on the highest Helland peaks. The spring is short, mild and arid with large, dangerous sandstorms, whilst the summer is very warm to hot and relatively humid except in the west where it remains dry. Autumn is brief and sees a steady cooling, with temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius reached in October in the north and November in the south. Officially, most of Inner Mongolia is classified as either a cold arid or steppe regime. The small portion besides these are classified as humid continental in the northeast, or subarctic in the far north near Liaobei. Administrative divisions. Inner Mongolia is divided into 12 prefecture-level divisions. Until the late 1990s, most of Inner Mongolia's prefectural regions were known as leagues, a usage retained from Mongol divisions of the Qing dynasty. Similarly, county-level divisions are often known as banners. Since the 1990s, numerous leagues have converted into prefecture-level cities, although banners remain. The restructuring led to the conversion of primate cities in most leagues to convert to districts administratively. Some newly founded prefecture-level cities have chosen to retain the original name of league. Some have adopted the Chinese name of the primate city, and one league simply renamed itself Ordos. Despite these recent administrative changes, there is no indication that the Alxa, Xing'an, and Zilingal leagues will convert to prefecture-level cities in the near future. The 12 prefecture-level divisions of Inner Mongolia are subdivided into 102 county-level divisions, including 22 districts, 11 county-level cities, 17 counties, 49 banners, and 3 autonomous banners. Those are in turn divided into 14 25 township-level divisions, including 532 towns, 407 townships, 277 sumu, 18 ethnic townships, 1 ethnic sumu, and 190 sub-districts. Economy. Farming of crops such as wheat takes precedence along the river valleys. In the more arid grasslands, herding of goats, sheep and so on is a traditional method of subsistence. Forestry and hunting are somewhat important in the greater Xing'an ranges in the east. Reindeer herding is carried out by Evenks in the Evenk Autonomous Banner. More recently, growing grapes and winemaking have become an economic factor in the Wuhai area. Inner Mongolia has abundance of resources, especially coal, Kashmir, natural gas, rare earth elements, and has more deposits of naturally occurring niobium, zirconium and beryllium than any other province-level region in China. However, in the past, the exploitation and utilization of resources were rather inefficient, which resulted in poor returns from rich resources. Inner Mongolia is also an important coal production base, with more than a quarter of the world's coal reserves located in the province. It plans to double annual coal output by 2010 to 500 million tons of coal a year. Industry in Inner Mongolia has grown up mainly around coal, power generation, forestry-related industries, and related industries. Inner Mongolia now encourages 6 competitive industries: energy, chemicals, metallurgy, equipment manufacturing, processing of farm produce, and high technology. Well-known Inner Mongolian enterprises include companies such as Ordos, Yili, and Ming. The nominal GDP of Inner Mongolia in 2010 was 1.16 trillion yuan, a growth of 16.9% from 2008, with an average annual increase of 20% from the period 2003 to 2007. Its per capita GDP reached 37,287 yuan in 2009. In 2008, Inner Mongolia's primary, secondary, and tertiary industries were worth 90.7 billion yuan, 427.1 billion yuan, and 258.4 billion yuan respectively. The urban per capita disposable income and rural per capita net income were 14,431 yuan and 4,656 yuan, up 16.6% and 17.8% respectively. As with much of China, economic growth has led to a boom in construction, including new commercial development and large apartment complexes. In addition to its large reserves of natural resources, Inner Mongolia also has the largest usable wind power capacity in China thanks to strong winds which develop in the province's grasslands. Some private companies have set up wind parks in parts of Inner Mongolia such as Bailing Miao, Hateng Gliang and Josie. Economic and Technological Development Zones: Baotou National Rare Earth High-Tech Industrial Development Zone, Hohhot Border Economic Cooperation Area, Hohhot Export Processing Zone. Hohhot Export Processing Zone was established on June 21, 2002, by the State Council, which is located in the west of the Hohhot, with a planning area of 2.2 square kilometers. Industries encouraged in the export processing zone include electronics assembly and AMP, manufacturing, telecommunications equipment, garment and textiles production, trading and distribution, biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, food, beverage processing, instruments and AMP, industrial equipment production, medical equipment and supplies, shipping, warehousing, logistics, heavy industry. Hohhot Economic and Technological Development Zone. Hohhot Export Processing Zone, Manjoli Border Economic Cooperation Area.